I'm very happy to join colleagues back at the IMF. And I want to pick up on, I think Jihad did a fantastic job in putting setting the stage and the outset for the discussion. In the Regional Economic Outlook on page 21, which is chapter 2, there is detail about how we identify the difference between temporary and permanent shocks and how we try to mitigate those. And the IMF identifies two very distinguished points. One is initial conditions matter. And the second is policy reactions during the crisis and afterwards matter as well. And here, let me discuss Egypt in that light. Initially, between 2016 and 2019, we had a homegrown program supported by the IMF. And that program had macroeconomic stability, of course, at its heart, but also several reforms on the energy side and other sectoral reforms. So we entered 2020 with foreign exchange buffers, which were favorable, with a primary fiscal surplus. So all of that was essential. The initial condition was one that helped us mitigate the immediate socioeconomic implications of the crisis. Something else that happened also between 2016 and 2019. And here this concept of not being complacent, but reform is an ongoing and continuous process. In addition to the macroeconomic stability that the country was committed to under the reform program, there were also sectoral developments. And when you take a look at the projections of the IMF, or of the World Bank or of EBRD, and I'm Egypt's governor in several institutions, you find that 2020 is a country where Egypt is singled out in terms of its growth rate, and also for 2021. And that comes on the back of a very, I would say, focused, sectoral, multi-sectoral investment program, reforms that took place, if you will, on the education front. And that happened with our multilateral partners. And given that I'm the Minister of International Cooperation, some of the very important programs related to social security, social safety nets, like Takaful Karama with the World Bank, if we're talking about education and digital transformation of education, also with the World Bank. If you're talking about the ability to be able to scale up these programs when the crisis hit, that infrastructure was there. Something else which is extremely important, and this comes as well in terms of the regional economic outlook that the IMF put out, is the ability to be able to mobilize resources in order to push forward. And the only way that countries are able to do that is if they have predictable policy. And that's why we moved further with the IMF with a standby agreement. The standby agreement is one where the projections are transparent, the government's policy framework is published, and in it you will find that in addition to maintaining macroeconomic stability through different policy actions, there are also matrices related to structural reforms, whether it's increased competition, transparency, governance, and of course, trying to push on the private sector engagement as well. So I can go in more details with respect to the different sectors that we moved from shortages, for instance, in electricity. Now there are electricity grids. If we think about regional integration or regional fora, we have, for instance, the Euromed Gas Forum, which is a partnership. You have Egypt, Italy, Palestine, Jordan, Israel, and Greece and Cyprus, with the private sector as well. So this is also another example of how we are moving on the regional front. Just recently, we were also on a high-level mission with the PM in Iraq, and there's a lot in terms of making use of the crisis in the sense that how is it that we can provide the different reforms that we've done in different sectors into other countries and so forth. So there's, I think the message from the first round is initial conditions matter, keep on reforming, because you never know when the next crisis is. We are not out of the woods yet. And that's why we are continuing in a very transparent way, announcing our different policy reforms.